As you may have already gleaned from the Meet the Owners series, the people who buy and run football clubs are far from a popular crowd. Their ranks are filled with oligarchs, dictators, criminals, and rapacious billionaires. But there is perhaps one person amongst this ethically compromised cabal who provokes the ire of fans, the press, politicians, and other business people like no other. And that is Newcastle United's English owner, Mike Ashley, who also owns a significant stake in Glasgow Rangers. Ashley, it's fair to say, is something of a walking contradiction. A self-made member of the Billionaires club, who's now worth, according to Forbes, £2.73 billion and sits in 629th place on their 2018 Billionaires list. A devout Newcastle fan, despite being born and raised in Buckinghamshire, Ashley often cuts a dishevelled figure, turning up for meetings carrying his mobile phone in a plastic bag after commuting to the office from his 33-room mansion in North London by helicopter. A ruthless businessman who built Sports Direct, a £1 billion sportswear retail business from a single store, and which is now the biggest single employer of 0 hours contracts in the UK. And yet Ashley maintains an everyman persona that has seen him boast that he can down a beer in 10 seconds, including once at a Newcastle home game, and who, allegedly, once vomited in a pub's fireplace after necking 12 pints during a typically raucous business meeting. Ashley's story begins in the modest, middle-class village of Burnham, Buckinghamshire, in the southeast of England. He wasn't an exceptional student and gained a single O-level, a C in economics, before leaving school at 16 with dreams of becoming a professional squash player. An injury ended that path, and it was whilst working as a squash instructor that he happened upon the idea of opening up his own sports shop, Mike Ashley Sports, with a £10,000 loan from his father who'd mortgaged the family bungalow. From there, he went on to acquire over 100 stores, rebranded as Sports Soccer, as well as a string of brands like Dunnet, Dunlop Slazenger, which he later sold, and Lonsdale, allowing Ashley to operate a pile-em-high, sell-em-cheap model. In 2007, Ashley went public and issued an IPO that netted him close to a £1 billion personal profit. He retains a 60% stake in the company that continues to acquire him stakes in distressed retailers. House of Fraser became Ashley's latest acquisition. Today he owns more than 400 stores, dozens of brands and retailers, and the share price is hovering around 400 pence. In its last results, Sports Direct still made a £78 million profit even after having to take a huge hit on its failed investment in Debenhams. Even though Ashley's bacchanalian exploits, like gambling and heavy boozing, have given him a well-known public persona, he's not someone who's comfortable in the public eye. He rarely gives interviews and is known to detest public speaking, so much so that he risked jail by refusing to appear before a parliamentary committee. Sports Direct employs close to 20,000 people and is the biggest user of so-called 0 hours contracts, a flexible way of employing staff that gives no actual obligation to offer any work. The contracts have been blamed for deepening poverty and raising uncertainty for millions of low-paid service sector workers. 0 hours contracts create a throwaway workforce. They form a one-way street whereby employers bear no risk, avoiding sickness and holiday pay and overtime, wrote Len McCluskey, the General Secretary of Britain's Unite Union. At the time, over 80% of Mike Ashley's workforce was on 0 hours contracts, and a 2015 investigation by The Guardian revealed the terrible conditions in some of Sports Direct's warehouses, including the underpayment of the minimum wage. A subsequent BBC investigation found that workers were subjected to a 6 strikes disciplinary regime, where 6 so-called offences would lead to dismissal. Those included talking too much, taking too much sick leave, taking long toilet breaks, and using a mobile phone at work. This created such a culture of fear that employers would take huge risks to avoid getting fired. One heavily pregnant woman was reportedly so scared of losing her job, she ended up giving birth in the warehouse toilets rather than calling in sick. Sports Direct complained to the BBC about the report, but the complaint was rejected by the BBC Trust. A recalcitrant Ashley was eventually dragged before a parliamentary select committee to answer questions about his business. Ashley gave a punchy, if flustered, performance, but agreed to pay back over £1 million in lost pay, while his company faced a £2 million fine for the breach. In the light of the appalling practices at Sports Direct, it's only right that the government imposes fines to send a clear signal to other rogue employers, said the Labour Party's deputy leader, Tom Watson. Ashley promised to give guaranteed hours to all retail staff, but not warehouse staff. However, little has changed. Last year, Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn used Prime Minister's questions to urge Theresa May to condemn Ashley and Sports Direct after reports that 0 hours contracts were still widely used. A year on, they're still exploiting insecure workers with 0 hours contracts. Will the Prime Minister join me in now demanding that Mr Ashley honours his words and ends 0 hours contracts in all of his companies? The Prime Minister declined to condemn Ashley. But Ashley is perhaps best known for his acquisition of Newcastle United for £134 million in 2007, a purchase he appears to have regretted from the moment that he bought the club. Whilst some fans welcomed the move, he had soon turned the club's fanbase against him for his perceived thriftiness and a string of moves that appeared to evaporate whatever goodwill was left. These included firing club legend Kevin Keegan and later having to pay £2 million after Keegan successfully sued for constructive dismissal after he refused to sign Ignacio Gonzalez, who'd been scouted by former director Dennis Wise via YouTube, the brief renaming of the St James's Park Stadium as the Sports Direct Arena, and signing Wonga as a shirt sponsor, a payday loan company with an appalling reputation for exploiting the poor and offering loans to often desperate people at an effective interest rate of 1,500%. Worse, many fans accused Ashley of being a Tottenham Hotspur fan, but subsequent interviews with childhood friends from back in Buckinghamshire seemed to suggest he was indeed a lifelong Toon fan. Still, Ashley was talking about selling Newcastle a year after buying the club, as he was seen hawking the club around potential Middle Eastern buyers in Dubai for a reported £481 million. But that came to nothing, and the club relegated to the Championship following a disastrous 2008-2009 season. Newcastle bounced straight back before another relegation in 2016 and immediate return to the Premier League with Rafa Benitez as coach. Ashley has made no bones about his desire to sell the club. In a rare interview with Sky Sports, he claimed there was no way he could compete with the new breed of owners like Sheikh Mansour at Manchester City. I've put my £250 million into the football club. There's no more from me. Now the club has to generate its own money. If someone said to me, I am wealthy, okay, in theory I am a billionaire, even maybe a multi-billionaire. But in reality, my wealth is all in Sports Direct shares. I don't have that cash in the bank, so I don't have that ability to write a cheque for £200 million. I don't have it, it's very simple, it's not there. And in a way, that's what has happened. According to the football finance blogger The Swiss Ramble, Newcastle United made 6 successive seasons of profit in between relegations, amassing some £100 million. In total, up to the last released figures, Ashley has made a total profit of £4 million since taking over in 2007. He has, at the very least, made Newcastle United financially stable. But for the fans, that's not enough. Like Stan Kroenke at Arsenal, the perception amongst Newcastle supporters is that Ashley appears happy for Newcastle United to tread water, avoid relegation, and rake in the Premier League's booming TV income to keep the club solvent. But his time at the club may be coming to an end. Last October, he announced again that the club was for sale, and he entered into negotiations with Amanda Staveley, a British dealmaker based in Dubai who played a key role in securing Manchester City for Sheikh Mansour from the former Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. Shinawatra has claimed that a deal was close between Liverpool and Sheikh Mansour, but that he persuaded a female broker, thought to be Staveley, to push for the much cheaper Manchester City deal instead. She was also instrumental in Sheikh Mansour's £3.5 billion investment in Barclays Bank that was reeling from the 2008 financial crisis. Mansour made a huge profit, as did Staveley, although her company PCP is suing Barclays for money she believes she's still owed for that deal. According to Staveley, a £250 million deal is on the table, something Ashley, who's looking for £350 million, has denied. But there are question marks as to where that money has come from and who the investors behind Staveley actually are. The saga continues, but an eventual sale to Staveley may also be a leap in the dark, and sometimes it's better the devil that you know.